Hi, good evening, I'm Steve Penk, and this is When Athletes Attack. Tonight, the gloves are off as we catch sportsmen losing it in every field. We're outing those athletes who are not concerned with beating their opponents, but more concerned with beating them up. The standard's been set by those legends who've annoyed crowds the world over. McEnroe for his tantrums, Tyson for his ear sandwich, and Beckham for her singing with the Spice Girls. We've got the outrageous, the serious, the psychotic, and the hilarious. If there's an all-star lineup of bad behaviour, then we'll unveil the unsporting heroes who'll be taking the gold on the podium of plonkers. Coming up, we've got athletes attacking on all fronts. There's free-for-all football and the madman of motorsport. When skating got scary, the inside track on the Tonya and Nancy story that rocked America. We've got the downright daft, the moments when fighting gets funny. And the umpire strikes back. We put refs under the spotlight. Now then, athletes go mental all over the world. Nowhere is safe. For example, in LA, they say, no way. In Caracas, they say, that's crackers. And on the island of Phuket, they say, flippin' heck. They're breaking the rules and anything else they can lay their hands on, because across the globe, when athletes attack, they don't hold back. First stop, the Brazilian Cup final between Corinthians in white and Palmeiras in green. Brazilian star Edilson scores the goal that gives Corinthians a 5-2 lead on aggregate. He then decides to waste some time, or is he just auditioning for the next Adidas commercial? But no one likes a show-off, and Junior of Palmeiras goes for his tackle. All hell breaks loose, and suddenly a number of players find out what it's like to be the ball.
Júnior agrediu, Paulo Nunes foi para cima. Jogadores do Palmeiras correm desesperados ali atrás do Edilson. Ficou feio. Era tudo que não podia acontecer. Era o Marcos, chega, era tudo.
Surely that was a dive, ref.
Tá no ar.
Fazer isso tá errado, Júnior. O que aconteceu aí? Vocês têm que falar com ele. É um moleque, rapaz.
Riot police are called, but this time they're here to protect the crowd. The match was abandoned, but Corinthians still managed to pick up the trophy. Just. Heading north from Brazil to Springfield, USA. Yes, Springfield, the home of the Simpsons, but this makes Itchy and Scratchy look like Rosie and Jim. Springfield in white had a player sin-binned, and suddenly it's apocalypse on ice. In for a penny, in for a pounding. Everyone wants their penny's worth, though someone here definitely gets 4 pennies worth. We'll come back when they've calmed down.
And all heck breaks loose here at the Springfield Civic Center.
Off to North Carolina for college basketball. These teams are proof that it doesn't take much to push an athlete over the edge. Now, this doesn't look to me much like a non-contact sport. Some of the crowd on the court, they think it's all over the place. It is now. One player sees an opportunity to get his hands on some free Calvin Klein underwear. Is that a slam dunk in the trunks? This guy's kindly offering another spectator a ringside seat. Has anybody got a clue what's going on here at all? Back in Springfield. They haven't calmed down. In fact, it's completely out of hand and everyone's at it. These two are the net minders, and this is what happens when your key defender goes on the attack.
Well, this one of the uglier scenes you're going to see right here.
Now we're off to Greece for a local derby. Ionikos in blue have just lost thanks to a controversial late goal, and the team coach wants to give the ref a friendly shake by the neck. And check out sneaky number 10. Players are now in a fury and single out a fan of Olympiakos, the winning team, for some special treatment. Apparently he's the bloke who ate all the pies. Or was that kebabs? Meanwhile, number 3 walks straight into a sucker punch. In Springfield, they're still at it, and now it's just getting silly. It's a bit like watching Torvill and Dean's Bolero with 3 falls and a submission. Although, I never saw Chris Dean do that to Jane Torvill. Not in public, anyway.
They're not dancing the anniversary waltz.
Whenever there Athletes attack. Your granddad says, "Oh, it was never like this in the old days." Well, I'm sorry, it was. They've been at it for years. Did you know that Francis Drake once did community service after he drop-kicked an abusive peasant during a game of bowls? Believe me, the golden age of fair play never existed. Even when the pitches were black and white, the athletes still saw red.
Hello, sports fans. This is mud wrestling New Orleans style from 1939. A match where the shit really does hit the fans. And this fighter's hit the ref. He's the one who's clean, for the moment. Ladies, you too can join in the fun of mindless violence. In the 40s, hair-pulling contests were all the rage. It's one-on-one curl action all the way. Today, some businessmen pay good money to see this stuff in private, but back then, it was free and public. Well done, girl. You're worth it. This is the New York Rangers ice hockey team, but they just don't give a puck. They fight the opposition, they fight the ref, they even fight the crowd. British boxing's day of shame. It's 1960 and Brian London is told he can't fight on due to injury. Oh yes, he can fight on, and the injury is this little chap's. Now Brian's dad and brother get involved. And when your dad's Jack London, the ex-heavyweight champion of Great Britain, for once, it really is a case of my dad's harder than your dad. Now here's some rare footage of medieval football, shot by Leonardo da Vinci on an ancient device known as the Betamax.
No, just kidding. Every year, the men of Florence play a game of football which celebrates the traditional art of ye olde athlete attacking. Now, these fellas are so hard, they treat their wounds with petrol. Sorry, have we interrupted something there, lads? As you can see, the ball is irrelevant and the violence carried on after the match. Newspapers reported that 9 men were in hospital for a month and one had his nose chewed off at the post-match meal. As you'd imagine, it was a very cheap buffet. There's the proof. Athletes have been attacking since Moses was a lad. But remember, he who casts the first stone usually gets a boulder back in the gob. In other words, when athletes start acting like Mr. Big, there's always a Mr. Bigger around to give him a damn good slap. Usually when they're least expecting it. In boxing, like most sports, there's a winner and a loser. This guy is the winner, but just when you think it's all over, here comes another loser. In fact, a complete loser. A couple of baby shams, and Dumbo here thinks he's Muhammad Ali.
What's going on here? What an idiot. What an idiot.
Nice one, mate. See you in casualty. And here we go again, a gallant loser and a comprehensive winner. But here comes Henry Cooper. Oh no, my mistake, it's Tommy Cooper. A couple of playground punches and the Pratt's on the mat. Just like that. Now they say the only violence at a rugby match is on the field, and this Fijian crowd quite rightly wait until they're on the field before they start the violence. Now usually the police would wade in wearing riot gear, but in Fiji they wear riot skirts. Ooh, scary! Run for the hills, lads, they're wearing Laura Ashley. The result, a trip to hospital and a few players for whom pulling a bit of skirt will never be the same again. Next stop, Korean baseball and a brilliant home run. The bad news is it's against the home team, the Samsung Lions, whose fans show their displeasure with some impromptu missile throwing. The target is Felix Jose of the Lotte Giants. He retaliates, decides against the helmet and goes for the bat. The spectators turn hot and sour, and on comes the food. A bowl of wonton soup for starters, an extra portion of rice, and a pile of noodles. Watch out for number 34, that's the king prawn fried rice. Jose's team went on to win, but he was fined $2,500 for his troubles. A punch lands after the bell, and these Italians go ballistic. One signore thinks about throwing a very nice garden chair, but instead the crowd go for the dried spaghetti. And look, a very hungry man will be hopping home tonight. What are they going to throw next? Ravioli. Probably the most famous attack on an athlete took place in 1994. The place was Detroit. The sport was that well-known hotbed of violence, figure skating. Harding-Kerrigan, America's favourite skater, was smashed on the leg with an iron bar by a mystery attacker just seconds after she'd finished practicing for the US National Championships. This wasn't a mad stalker. In fact, he was a hired hitman. And when America found out who'd done the hiring, everyone in the States was gripped by a story of intrigue and subterfuge. Detroit, 1994, and Harding-Kerrigan's life is about to be turned upside down. A mystery attacker steps out from the shadows and clubs her kneecap with one of these, a telescopic police baton.
Who hit you? Man hit you?
What emerged in the following weeks was a story straight from a Hollywood movie script. In the blue corner, Harding-Kerrigan, beautiful All-American ice queen. In the red corner, Tonya Harding, self-confessed trailer trash and Kerrigan's fiercest rival. Little did he know it, but sportscaster Scott Lewis was about to scoop the biggest story of his life.
Tonya Harding, to me, seemed like the kind of lady that you'd expect to be in a bar having a shot and a beer. She drove a pickup truck. She was very strong and powerful skater. She wasn't very feminine. She didn't seem to fit the same mold as the other skaters. And she was jealous of Harding-Kerrigan.
6 weeks before the '94 Olympics, the best skaters in America gathered for the national championships in Detroit's Cobo Arena. The winner was guaranteed a place in the Olympics, but Kerrigan didn't get beyond the practice stage.
I just put on my guards and I was walked through the curtain, and I was going toward the locker room when I just saw something from up behind me on the right-hand side coming down, and then I remember pain and realizing that someone was running away.
You said some guy hit her. Hit her? Some man hit her.
Why? I don't know, some hard black stick. Something really, really hard.
The only witness to the attack was a woman who sewed sequins onto the skaters' dresses.
And I saw him pull the baton out and he clicked it. And he came across and hit Nancy's leg, and she immediately went down.
A Chicago TV crew captured the hitman on film.
He took off running, and I followed him. I cornered him in the hallway, and the doors were locked. So he broke the glass in this door here and went running through.
My kneecap could have been crushed. I was hit right above my knee, right here, and if it was just one finger lower, it would have probably shattered my kneecap. It would have been a lot worse and a lot harder to recover, and probably I wouldn't have recovered in time for the Olympics.
So with Kerrigan out, Harding won the Nationals and booked her ticket to the Olympics.
I'm happy to be here, and I'm really excited. Thank you.
But the whiff of suspicion was becoming a stench.
As Harding-Kerrigan arrived back home in Boston, still limping slightly from the bizarre attack, a possible motive emerged in Detroit. The talk in skating circles is of a conspiracy, a deliberate plot to get Harding-Kerrigan out of the competition to benefit another skater. There's widespread belief that the person who clubbed Kerrigan on the right knee was not a crazed fan, but someone with connections to the sport.
And I got a tip that the police were focusing on Tonya Harding, that they thought this was a deliberate attempt to knock Nancy out of the competition. My first reaction was disbelief. This just couldn't be true, but my source was very good.
She declined to do an on-camera interview about the assault on Harding-Kerrigan, but Harding did confirm that she's been contacted by the FBI.
Hitman Shane Stant was arrested along with Sean Eckhart, who worked as Tonya's bodyguard. The Mr. Big behind the attack was Jeff Gillooly, Tonya Harding's husband. The police lead investigator says the gang left an easy trail to follow.
If I had to describe this gang, I would basically call them the Three Stooges, Larry, Moore, and Curly. It was just unbelievable how easy it was to catch them and how really stupid they were after they committed the assault, and how open they were and how free they were in talking about it, which ultimately made it so easy to catch them so quick.
There wasn't enough dirt to nail Harding, so she headed for the Olympics.
I'm not answering your questions, I said. Leave me alone for right now.
Kerrigan recovered enough to gain a wild card, and suddenly Lillehammer in Norway became the setting for Act 2 of Beauty and the Bitch. The world watched, and even Tonya couldn't resist a look at Nancy's knee.
Even the athletes wanted to look at me. Just, I don't know why, just like to just see me. It's very difficult to be, even in the Olympic Village, to go in the cafeteria and sit down and eat. You could see people looking around the corner just to look.
The biggest TV audience in sporting history watched Tonya have a nightmare. While Nancy missed the gold medal by just 1/10 of a point.
I had thought that I won after I skated, but you know, that's just not the way it went, so, oh well.
Within weeks, the Three Stooges were jailed, insisting Harding was in on the plot all along. She was fined £100,000 for withholding information, stripped of her American title, and banned from the Olympics for life. Ice Queen Nancy went from strength to strength, professional bookings, marriage to her agent, followed by the patter of tiny skates. For trailer trash Tonya, it was divorce, a blue movie, and comic strip ridicule. And she recently had another brush with the law, charged with beating up her new boyfriend. So, was Harding really behind the plot to dethrone the Ice Queen? She says no, but others aren't convinced.
To me, it was the ultimate in poor sportsmanship. Here was a woman who wanted to win so badly that she was willing to do anything she had to win the title. I believe that Tonya Harding knew about this from the beginning. She was the one who had the most to gain, and I don't believe for a minute that the people around her would go out and plan and organize and carry this out without her knowing about it.
In fact, we can go over right now to Boston and hear the story from the Ice Queen herself. Hello, Nancy.
Hi, Steve.
Nancy, we've just been watching your extraordinary story where you were caught up in the middle of that incredible drama. Looking back, what was the personal cost to you of that awful attack?
I think the personal cost was the lack of privacy in my life, and now having everybody know all about my past and what I'm doing now as well. But also that's a positive thing because it's given me so many opportunities to do other things. So it's a plus and minus.
Now, in a lot of respects, you are remembered as the skater who was attacked, and your name is forever linked with Tonya Harding's. Tonya and Nancy, the two seem to go together. How do you feel about that?
I'm disappointed by hearing our names together because, you know, I went to 2 Olympics, I have 2 Olympic medals, I worked really hard, and I would rather be known for all the hard work, and maybe that could be inspiring, whether it's for young kids in sports or anything else. I was just a victim. I was hit in the knee, so to put me together, it's disappointing because I've done so many other things.
Well, listen, it's been great to talk to you, and everyone here salutes you for the courage you showed. Ladies and gentlemen, please say thank you, Nancy Kerrigan. So, watch out when they're not attacking each other. Athletes are taking pot shots at innocent passers-by. Here's one victim who's about to discover baseball can be faceball. So far, you've seen this lot. And still to come, why even refs sometimes deserve the red card. And why sports interviewers should never light the blue touch paper when the big guy has a short fuse. All coming up on When Athletes Attack.